All right, we've got part 2 with Kieran. If you remember, he's gone viral on the first one, getting up to like 500,000 views on the podcast and the clips combined. So we've got UK Crip in Manchester Gangland. And I've been speaking to Americans like, Crips in Manchester? What the F's going on over there? Goddamn limey. So, have you had anyone reach out to you from the States or anything?
Yeah, I've had it. The funniest remark I heard was, how do you use gangbang with an accent? That's what, so how do you gangbang with an accent? So,
how do you respond to that?
I just shook my head. I don't know.
So, as we know, Kieran is reformed. Very powerful story. His YouTube channel is True Blue Lifestyle. TruBlufstyle. It will be near the top of the description box. So come on, let's help Kieran get up to 5,000, 10,000 subs, because he's working very diligently putting these videos together. I'm just looking at his most watched right now. We've got his burrito recipe, followed by jail antics. Did you tell us the jail antics story in part 1, or is that something that we could go over?
No, that's where we could go into that.
What were the jail antics?
It's just jail antics on a whole. Like, it's just a mad, crazy place. Like, to me, you see some of the most craziest things in jail, but because of the environment we're in, we normalise it. Do you know what I mean? So it's just crazy. I can't remember what I was specifically talking about in that one, but it's another one of my jail antic stories that I've seen or heard of. I'm not going to say what prison I was in, but then one day we've come out and then there's like some mad investigation going on. So we're like, well, what's up? Because we was on a prison that had a farm. Yeah. So then they found used condoms on the field by the sheep pen. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, wow.
The sheep pen?
By the sheep pen. Do you know what I mean? So you could only imagine what was going on there. And it's just madness. Like, it's crazy. But then when you hear these stories, it's almost like people know, oh, well, he was just mad, or, well, yeah, these things happen. And no, they don't. Do you know what I mean?
Condoms would have to have been smuggled in, wouldn't they?
No, it's mad. You can get them in prison now.
Okay.
They give, if you go to healthcare, they say to stop the spread of diseases.
Yeah.
You can get that.
Well, that's probably a sensible policy, but not for sheep.
Yeah.
What other little crazy stories?
Even when the spice pandemic hit the system, I've seen some of the most dangerous of people fold and crumble due to the spice thing. I'll never forget it. This one time, I was in someone's cell and they was in there smoking. And then this guy's in there, but I was watching him go under. Like, I can see him going under. So I'm looking at him.
Like his eyes going
Yeah, like
out.
he's going and I'm thinking he's going in. Then he's grabbed hold of me and said, oh, help me get to my cell. So I'm saying, I'm not helping you get to your cell. Do you know what I mean? I said, get off me. Like, so then someone else has took him. So then I've gone down to check on him later. But when I've gone in there, the cell stunk of shit. Do you know what I mean? So I'm looking at him, but he stood at the window, like unbuckling his belt. So I think I could only assume he shit himself.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? But that's what it was doing to people. It was just sending their head west. And then the next day, they don't even know what happened.
Did it just like appear in the prisons all of a sudden and took over, and there was lots of incidents?
Yeah, because you know what? The first time I ever heard or seen anything about spice was in about 2000 and back end of 2011, early 2012. Because what it was in the C cats and D cats. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't really in cat Bs and cat As. It was in the C cats and D cats, all because it doesn't show up in your MDT test, so your piss test. It wouldn't show up. So you'd have people in C cats and D cats smoking it because it doesn't show up in your piss test. But then as time's gone on, it's got stronger and stronger, and people started putting all sorts in it. So that's when people started tripping out and doing crazy things.
Were people getting spiked?
Yeah, 100%. Officers were getting spiked.
Officers? Did you see officers get spiked?
Yeah, because right now there's a burn ban, so there's tobacco ban in the system. But before that, you might have certain officers that will come along and be like, yeah, I'll do us a favour. rollers of smoke. You know what I mean? So like the cleaners and that. So then I remember this Cockney geezer. He was young lad, but he was problematic. Do you know what I mean? So he's going, yeah, I'll make you a brew and make you a smoke. But then he's put some of that in there, and then watched the officer go over. Like watched him go over, and he's like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to me. Like he still does. I don't think. Well, he might know now if he sees this, but yeah, he didn't know what happened to him because he just remembers feeling mad and then feeling unwell and going home.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. And is that, still like the major drug in the UK prison system, spice?
Yeah. Well, up until I left, yeah, definitely. Like people were going over daily. You always had the nurse running over to different house blocks. And
what year did you get out again?
I got out in 2019.
Oh, it's really recent, isn't it? So in this part 2 then, we were going to go over a bit more like what it was growing up for you in Manchester. So just to set the scene then, because they are more than half the audience is the Americans, like whereabouts in Manchester and what was it like?
So I'm originally from South Manchester, so there's like the North Manchester and the South. So you have the North, that's more like Cheetham Mill, them areas connected to Salford. Then you've got like the South, that's more Moss Side, Old Trafford, Hume, Longside, all them type of areas. But in the south of Manchester, it's more gang affiliated. It's more gang related. So from the late 80s, early 90s, you've had two main gangs warring. You've had the Gooch and the Dodderton at war with each other. And then in true fashion, you get all the splinter groups. So you'll have like FMD, LSC, OT Crip, L all types of different offshoots, do you know what I mean? But then the two main gangs are always Gooch and Dodderton. So we grew up in the south of Manchester. So mid-90s, growing up, you always see and know what's going on, do you know what I mean? If you see like a dodgy car, to duck from a young age, and if shots start letting off, like, do you know what I mean? So these are the kind of things that we learn from young, so. And another thing, it's always that, to me, the other side, I've always been the enemy, even before I was gang affiliated, So it's like, I think it stems from like where people will say to you, if you see them run, or if you see them let our side know, do you know what I mean? So really and true, I think it stems from that, and then you always see them as the enemy, so it's always like, oh, it's them Dodderton lot, or do you know what I mean?
In your life, at what age did that start?
So I'm saying from growing up, so from about 6, 7 years old, you know the goings on. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna say that anyone's gang affiliated at 7 years old, but you know the goings on. So like I said, if you see a shady car, or if a shooting happens and then the police pull you and say, oh, what happened there? Did you see anything? To say no, and do you know what I mean? It's all them type of things.
As a 6-year-old becoming more aware, did it interest you?
Yeah, because to me, it's like, in this day and age, we have social media. So like, you could follow someone and know everything they're doing in that. But back then, all you had is your environment, So if you've got family members what are active gang members, so like, let's say, for example, someone grows up and their dad or their uncle, like for me, my uncles were active gang members. So when I'm looking at them, like if I'm looking at them and they're my heroes, do you know what I mean? And I'm aware of what they're doing, that's the way you're going to end up going.
Was there anyone in your family who saw that direction you were going in and tried to put the brakes on earlier on?
Everyone's seen it, but you know what it was? More for me, it was more like I say I lived a double life. Do you know what I mean? So when I was doing what I was doing on the streets, at home, they didn't really know the full lengths of what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone knew I was like around gang members, but no one really knew the full extent of what I was doing. Because I was young. They always look at, because I used to hang around with like older people, so it always looks like, oh, they're making him do this, or they might have done that, and Kieran's just not saying anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When really it wasn't that. It was me.
You were initiating. Did any family members like just take you to the side and give you a speech?
No, because it was mad for us because in '89, the year I was born, my uncle was murdered. So we've always grown up in a household knowing about gun violence. Do you know what I mean? Because our uncle had been
Are
shot
you able
and
to
killed.
give the story of why he was murdered?
Yeah, I don't. I just know what I've been told. So basically, it's like an argument's taken place amongst a group of friends, and then the guys come back with a gun to kill someone. My uncle stood in the way and says, like, if you're kill him, you have to go through me. Basically, that's what happened.
Holy shit.
So we've always grown up knowing that we've got an uncle what passed away. Do you know what I mean? So you would have died in June '89. I would have been 6 months old, but I've always known about him. Do you know what I mean?
So, did that mean that your family then would have been like, right, we can't let this happen again, and we've got to be wary of situations?
Yeah, because it's mad, you know, and this is like, it's crazy how my life turned out, because growing up, we wasn't allowed to play with guns, you know? So, like, I never forget it. As, like, it's about 7, 8 years old, going to, like, a kiddie party, fancy dress party. So me and my cousin were cowboys. So we've got our little plastic guns in a holster and all that. But when we've gone out, my uncle's put the guns in the holster, and then as we've come back, he's took them off us and then hid them on top of, like, the bar at my grand's. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never really understood it until now. Now I think to myself, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And after I got shot, I seen the hurt it caused my gran. Do you know what I mean? And that's like something I've always had to live with.
What's your relationship like with your grandparents when you were growing up?
My gran was my world. You know, my granddad he had another family. Didn't really see him, but my gran was my world.
So you spent a lot of time at hers.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's like a second mum to me.
And did she mentor you?
No, you know what it was with my gran? It was crazy because it's like my gran would never really tell us off for what we'd done, and she would always defend it, you know? So it's like she would always say, I would never trade my bad one for your good one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever's going on, like, it's family. You know?
How did that make you feel knowing she had your back like that?
It's mad because when I went, I remember this one time, yeah, when I was staying at my grand's. So one day I think I had just come out of the police station. I got arrested for something. Then I've had to go to another police station to go and get my prop. So I've gone and got my props. I've emptied it all out. I'll throw in the bags back in the bin, them big brown evidence bags. Then I've seen a car parked outside my grand's house, but nobody knows where my gran lives. So I've seen this car parked outside my grand's house, so I'm thinking, who's that there? Do you know what I mean? So I've come out, threw the stuff in the bin, then I've gone back in. As I've gone back out to leave now with my bike, two police stood on the doorstep like, oh, you're right, Kieran, can I have a word? So I'm thinking, oh, here we go. So they've come in. But funnily, one of the officers knew my gran from my uncle's case. Do you know what I mean? So then my gran's in there, and then they're saying, oh, we have reason to believe that I was in Mossad and I've been in Mossad. Intel to suggest I've been in Mossad with like gang-related activity, basically, like shootings and whatever else. So my gran sat there saying, nope, not my Kieran. No, he doesn't go to Mossad. He's never been to Mossad. Like, yeah, he just stays in Old Trafford. They're like, oh, well, Miss Stewart, we have intel to suggest that Kieran's been in Mossad. No, not Kieran. No. I'm looking at it thinking, yeah, sick.
Any other family members who you really look up to?
Not really, not like that though. Not really like that. Like, I respect all my family members. Like I always respect my elders. Do you know what I mean? But from a perspective of like respect them from that kind of thing, like no, because none of them. Like my dad's side, they was more gang related, but it's more the other side. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit
Two sides.
Yeah.
What about school teachers? Did any of them have a good impact on you?
No, but I know one man that did. Kevin from the youth club. Yeah, and this is a story I'll never forget. And first time I got arrested for an attempted murder. So it was like the talk of the town. So everyone, when I've been arrested, everyone's expecting me to get remanded. So when I've come out, I've ended up going to the youth club. So then he's pulled me to the side and he's just saying to me, like, look, listen, like, you're better than this, whatever. And it hit me, like, the conversation hit me. But at the same time, it's like, I'm only in the youth club for, let's say, 2-3 hours. Do you know what I mean? It's 24 hours in a day, you know? So, yeah, I'm listening to what you're saying here now, but then once I go and I'm back on the streets, like, what can I do? Do you know what I mean? And that stuck with me. That stuck with me for even till this day. I reached out to his son and said, oh, give your dad my number, man. I want to thank him for that and tell him I've not forgot it.
Has he been in touch?
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, maybe someone sees this.
Yeah.
Perhaps they will push that along. So, outside of the youth club then, before the heavy crimes, what were you like?
It was more just driving cars, motorbikes. You know, that's where it started for me. Driving cars and riding motorbikes. You know, and you'll see like older gang members that will say like, oh, gives a lift, or do you know what I mean? Or you just driving around following them while they're doing what they're doing.
And stolen cars as well.
Nah, the cars were never stolen. I never really used a stolen car until I got older and started, like, you know, with criminal activity. But in the early days, so let's talk, I started driving when I was 13, so 2002. So back then, like, you could drive around and get a producer. Do you know what I mean? And they couldn't take your car. You know what I'm saying? So we used to buy little cars for like 150 quid and that. Do you know what I mean? I bought a BMW 735 F-Reg, 500 quid. That's the most I ever spent on a car.
And growing up, did you have a girlfriend and stuff?
Nah, not really. Not growing up. I was more. You know what? It's mad because it's like even in school and that, I had. There's like two group. It was all a group of friends, but there's always like us and the other lot. Do you know what I mean? That the other lot would like to go out to the Trafford Centre, looking for girls on the weekend and all them type of things. But our thing was more like we wanted to go do some street robberies to get enough money to go and buy a car.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was more what I found fascinating.
So the Americans find it fascinating that this gang culture has crossed over. When did the American gang culture first start showing signs it was reaching into Manchester?
Because for me, like I bought it to Manchester.
Okay.
I bought these Crips and Bloods to Manchester because what it was, I was fascinated with, like, growing up in the 90s. So it's Dr. Dre, Snoop. So I'm seeing Snoop and I'm always seeing him with this blue bandana and talk about Crip and whatever else, gang signs. So that's like the 90s. So then going into like the thousands, then I start listening to like Brother Lynch. So you got them from Garden Block, Sacramento. So I start listening to them. So now I'm hearing, but they're more talking from a gangbanging perspective, you know. So I'm hearing that and I'm thinking, yo, what's going on here? And then in 2005, I watched the movie Redemption for Stanley Tucky Williams. Do you know what I mean? So when I'm seeing it, I was fascinated. At this point, I'm fascinated now. So I'm saying to my friends, I'm saying, look, I'm a Crip. You know, I went and got the blue bandana. So all my wardrobes changed to blue and black clothing. But at first, everyone was like, nah, that's some American thing, man. That's some American thing. I said, I don't care. I don't care, though. Like, that's what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then as time went on, so this was about 2005. So then as time went on, in 2006, it actually, like, caught on, you know. And then the other side done the same thing and made the Moss Side Bloods.
So you were a trailblazer in this then, bringing it to Manchester. Yeah. So all the Yanks watching this were like, oh, what the hell's going on over there? You just heard it, that it was the young people adopting the clothing, just made it happen, basically. That's how it started.
And then we got rivals. Like, so we were saying we was Old Trafford Crips. Then you got the rivals from Moss Side, and they'll say they're Moss Side Bloods. You know, and then there was like loads of little ones, like loads of little. So you might have you had the Old Trafford Bloods and this and that and Moston Crips but the main ones was OT Crips and Moss Side Bloods.
And was this happening across the country, like in London at the same time as well?
I think London was doing it, but I don't know if they was doing it more from a gangbanging perspective. So it's like I know in Lewisham they call like the Blue Borough. You know, so like they had that the Crip colour and flag bandana. Then you'll have like, I know there's a few people that I've met in jail from like Brixton, they will say like, oh, we're Bloods, you know? And I've seen that a few. When I watch like social media and that, I see like a few people in Tottenham, they use words like, but I don't know if it's more a gang thing or if it's just the way they speak. Do you know what I mean? So if I hear someone say Suwu, I know that's Bloods. Do you know what I mean?
What does Suwu mean?
I'm not sure. It's like the term what the Bloods use. I don't know where it comes from.
What kind of terms do you guys use?
The Crip thing is more like people will say cuz, you know, but I know like in some places that's how people talk anyway. Do you know what I mean? Or loke. Like if I hear someone say, oh, a loke, like a loke is a Crip. You know?
So it sounds like a lot of this comes out of American prison. Like, what up, cuz?
Yeah.
And loco.
But that's where it
Yeah.
all stems from. Like that's
Yeah.
where it stems from that. So then, like for me, I'm seeing that and the way they're doing it, and then doing the same thing over here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So if it's springing up then organically in cities like Manchester and London, do you then have alliances with Crips across the country? Or is it all just local?
More in prison, because like outside, you don't really click with other cities. You know, like if
There's always that rivalry, like north, south of London.
Yeah. So it's like you always. Don't get me wrong. Some of the gangs are connected, but for my personal opinion and my personal experience, my connection comes from prison. You know, like I wouldn't be outside and be like, oh, I'm gonna phone my mate in Birmingham and go down there. Do you know what I mean? It's more through prison. Like the friends I've got from out of town now are ones I've met in prison.
So the gang members, Bloods, Crips, stick together in the UK prison system?
No, it's more just like an area. So it's like, for me, when I was in prison, if I'm with a group of, let's say a group of people from Nottingham, they're defending me because of who I am. You know, it's not really like, oh, so you're a Crip, I've got your back. It's more like, I'm going to defend you because of who I am.
If you're in prison without your colours on, how would you know another prisoner was a Crip?
Because for me personally, like if I'm in jail and I see someone from Manchester, the first thing I'm going to do is say, where are you from? Do you know what I mean? Then tell me where they're from. Then from there, it's like, but there's a difference. Because like if I say to someone, so if someone says to me, where are you from? And I say, I'm from OT Crip. Do you know what I mean? Like that's that. I'm telling you I'm a gang member. But if I turn around and say, I'm from Old Trafford, that's just me saying I'm from an area.
And is detention then, or is it squashed inside prison?
It depends, because I started off in young offenders. So in young offenders, it's just on site.
Yeah.
Every minute of every day, it's just on site. Like I had beef with people in young offenders that I never met a day in my life.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just when you've got like a name, people are always gonna try and, you know, get a few stripes off you or whatever. You know what I mean? So I went into prison. When I went into prison, I've already got a name. You know what I mean? So everyone's looking like, oh, I heard he's coming, and when you get there, it's like, oh, going to visits or whatever, and then there's people there, and people start shouting things out the window, or throwing up gang signs, or, you know.
So in young offenders, with it being on site then, do you think that the system needs to be changed? Do you think that just creates more of a normalisation of violence for young people and gang members?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I believe even from before that, so like I've done one video on my YouTube channel where it's saying like childhood traumas is what builds the people we are today, you know? So I always use the example of like domestic violence. So if you grew up in like a domestic violence household, if it's say your mum and your dad, you could go one of two ways. Like you might side with your dad and be like, oh, well, it's always my mum's fault. You know, she annoys my dad, so that's why he does that. So then when they grow up now, you adapt that same behaviour. But now for me, I grew up in a household where my dad wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So it's always like a step parent. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm always going to side with my mum over the step parent. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of
And then
course.
you kind of, so to me, it's like we normalize this fast. So even like I said before, like you're witnessing drive-bys from the age of like 6, 7 years old. As soon as you're old enough to play outside on your own, you're witnessing drive-bys. You're hearing shootings. You know what's going on. You know, the news is on. Like, oh, that's our street. Oh, a man was shot and killed today. Or, do you know what I'm saying? So
do you think that the government needs to do more for neighbourhoods where that's happening, like offer more facilities for the youth?
yeah, and that's the thing. You know, I'm glad you said that, because it's like, for me, I can come out here now and tell you my story and say, like, don't do this and don't do that because this is what's going to happen. But then what opportunities am I giving these people? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that was my original plan, to create something. So it's like, I can get these people educated and qualified and then send them off on the way. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, I could sit here now and say to you, don't do this and don't do that. Like I said, the story with Kevin, he said what he said to me, it hit home. But then for the rest of them 24 hours in the day, what can I do? I've got nowhere to go.
I remember when I got out of prison and the government announced they were shutting down 2/3 of the youth centres in this country.
Yeah.
What do they expect the kids are going to do then?
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, like there's nowhere to go now. I was saying that to my partner the other day. Like, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere for these kids to go.
Do you think it's by design then, so they could fill these private prisons?
What do you mean? That's why they
So,
shut down.
so like in America, they say there's this thing called the school to prison pipeline, where they show the school kids all these, you know, there's the violent video games, there's the gang stuff, there's the music videos, and then they give them nothing to do, so they just get into the gang banging lifestyle. They end up in prison, but as soon as they go to prison, the government money is like £60,000 or $60,000 a year per person.
Yeah.
So those contracts now are in the tens of billions of dollars a year. So they've got to constantly be looking for people to fill these prisons to keep that going.
Yeah, I've never really thought of it like that. But it's like, it's true. That is true what you said, though. It is true. It's like, again, it's like today, in this day and age, like back in the day, I could tell where somebody was from by the way they talk.
Yeah.
Not just the accent, the way the words they say and that.
Yeah.
But it's like now, in this day and age, everybody speaks the same. And that, I believe that's because they're watching these videos on YouTube and they find it hard to separate reality from entertainment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's an argument I have all the time. People say, no, drill music should be banned and this and that. But it's like, it's not the music, you know. It's the consumer. Like, you should be able to separate entertainment from reality. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, I know when I was an active gang member, I used to listen to certain music what's talking about, drive up slow, let the window down, let the trigger blow. Like, but I wouldn't say that music's encouraging me to do what I'm doing. It's just I'm listening to it because that's what I'm doing. Do you know what I'm saying? And I suppose if I was moving keys like Pablo, I'll probably be listening to music that's talking about I'm moving keys and not getting locked up. Do you know what I'm saying?
And if people don't know what drill music is, check out our interview with Skengdo and AM on the channel. So, do you think then young offenders are failing young people, the institutions?
Yeah. But again, it's like, it's one of them things, it's like, it depends. Like, there's not much opportunities, but again, it boils down to the individual's mindset, you know? Because I spent 12 years in prison. So now when I think back to myself, there was a lot that the prison actually had to offer, but because I didn't have that mindset, you know what I'm saying? So and another thing, you can get all the qualifications in the world, but then they're not teaching you like the basics of adult life, like a credit file, all these type of things. So I'm thinking, oh, I'll get out of jail, I've got money, I can go and get go rent out a house, I've got enough for a deposit, and do you know what I mean?
So if you were in charge of a young offenders prison, what changes would you make from the present system?
I would put something in place that teaches basic life skills. It's all well and good teaching them maths and English. It's all well and good that, because in most young offenders, well, back in my day, you had to have a level 2 minimum qualification, because that's what most employers are looking for, a level 2 in maths and English. So that was like mandatory in young offenders. You had to have your level 2, or you couldn't do any vocational courses. But at the same time, you also need a basic life course, because I went to prison when I was 18, came out when I was 30. I'm still scratching my head now trying to fill out certain forms, like applying for a bank account or wherever you lived in the past. Like, why are you asking me that? Censors come through my door. keep knock. I shouldn't say this, but they keep knocking on.
Where is it? I did mine a bit late, yeah. So, how many of the inmate population of young offenders do you estimate come from homes where there's been like abuse?
Easily like 75%. I'll say like 3/4. Easy, like everybody I see in young offenders, what I seen in young offenders, had a crazy story. Whether they were care leavers, or they ran away from home so they could be with their friends, and it's mad. It's mad. It's mad.
So do you think then, giving them something to channel that energy into, because if there's abuse in your house, you're going to be pissed off. So you've got aggressive energy.
Yeah.
Give them something like sports, martial arts, boxing, whatever it is. Get them to channel that aggressive energy into something positive instead of just beating the shit out of each other all day. Would that be a better system?
Yeah, 100%. Just any outlet for them to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different things. And another thing, the saddest part about it, there's so much talent in prison.
Absolutely.
So much talent in prison, whether it's footballers, musicians, artists, whatever it is. There's so much talent in prison, and it's a waste.
And that's why we work with the Cursor Trust, who sponsor prisoners to rehabilitate through art, and they're out of London. So if you're interested in helping prisoners and society, check out their links. And people can even volunteer to work for them as well. They have an annual art exhibition every year. I've been the judge of it a few times. So they're really good people. They actually helped me when I was in prison and put me on the mentor scheme. And them and prisoners abroad as well. They were the ones who introduced me to them. They're also really good people.
Yeah, and even off the strength of that as well, that AP Foundation do that as well over here. Like, the AP Foundation, they're out of London, but they've reached out to me and asked me to put together some courses, and you know what I'm saying, for rehabilitation purposes. And I think that's what people like, basic life skills, man.
Yeah.
And basic life knowledge, you know what I mean?
What skills did you require then to adapt to prison versus your experience in young offenders? What was the differences?
You have to. You have no other option but to grow up fast. So, young offenders is 18 to 21. Yeah. So then for me, as soon as I turned 21, they kicked me out of Morelands. They said to me, you're going. My birthday's on the 21st of January. On the 20th of January, they come and see me. My lifer officer come and see me and said, "What prison do you want to go? You're 21 tomorrow. Where do you want to go?" Right, why are you getting rid of me so soon? Do you know what I mean? You can stay till you're 21 in 6 months. But they give me about a week or so and then just kick me out. But then, as soon as I got to over 21s, what we would call con prison, you have to grow up fast. You have to, you get some people that they're still a bit immature, and then they move to these over 20 and they do stupid things, and then they'll end up getting themselves stabbed up or beat up or seriously hurt over some stupidness.
Did you see that?
Yeah, 100%, all the time. And it's it never really happened to me, except for that one time in Strange Race, and I nearly got myself killed. But other than that, I adapt well to different environments, you know what I mean? So it's but I've seen a lot of people come from young offenders and try to have that same mentality. And it's not even just with the cons, it's with the officers as well. Because a young offender officer, they're not the same as in HMP over 21s, you know what I mean? In over 21s, it's more relaxed. Especially in them lifer jails, it's more relaxed. They'll call you by your first name and everything else. But in young offenders, it's more like what I would believe boot camps like. You know what I mean? Ex-army officers and treating you like soldiers.
Did we talk about the story where you fucked up and nearly got killed? Did we do that in part 1?
I think so. Well, it's the time with we ended up becoming good friends after that with Chaos.
Oh, Chaos.
Yeah. With
what a story that was.
He's come up to me, asking for my mate, but I thought, what are you asking for him for? Started getting a bit of attitude, then he's walked away and started giving me the side eye, smiling. I'm thinking. Then I realised who it was, and I thought, oh shit, I think I messed up here.
So if you want to check that out, see part 1. We'll put the link to part 1 with Kieran in the description box near the top. So, how long were you in Young Offenders, and what was your last day like?
So I was in Young Offenders. I'd done the full 3 years. So I went in went into prison when I was 18. But actually, I'd done a year in Strange Race. So when I was 19, I went to Strange Race because that's when they cat-A'd me. So that was like with over 21s anyway. Do you know what I mean? So really, I'd done about two years out of the 3 years as a young offender.
Take us through your last day then. So they come and told you got to leave. Like, I remember in prison, like, everyone finds out you're leaving and they're like making bets on when they're going to come and get you. And they're all looking at you like, you're not going to need no sunglasses and shit like that. What was it like for you on your last day?
Because at that point, I'm still like a gang member. So the only thought going through my head is like, I'm in young offenders, H&P Molins at this point, but I was 21. So I'm one of the oldest now. And at that point, I'm still thinking to myself, no disrespect to any of my rivals at that point, but anyone my age, I didn't see them as a threat. Do you know what I mean? But then going into like over 21s, now I'm going to be that kid again. Do you know what I'm saying? And there's so many different people I could bump into. So that's always what's on my mind. Do you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you've got no other option. You've clocked in. You've decided you're going to be a gang member. So you have to be a gang member to the fullest. You can't be going there and like be like, oh no, I was only joking. I'm not really a gang. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to take the rough with the smooth, I suppose. Do you know what I mean?
So did your mates try and get your property, or could you take your property with you?
You could take your property with you. It's not really that bad like that over here. You could take your property with you. So stereo, your PlayStation and whatever else you got, take it with you.
And how was transportation from one to the other?
It weren't too far because I was going from Doncaster to Nottingham. So it weren't too far. I think it was about an hour or so, hour and a half on the Sweatbox. So
you're going in, you're apprehensive about, this is with the big people now. And first day, take us into it. Like you get strip searched, your cell assigned. What happens?
Yeah, you go in there. So you go into the holding room, and then they'll call you out one by one. You get your piss test, so your mandatory drug test. Then they'll strip search you, all that. Give you your bed pack and everything else. But because I went to a private jail, they started giving us duvets and pillows and all types of things. So I'm thinking, whoa. So I remember I stood at the desk, and the officer's talking to me. He says, do you want a cup of tea? So I'm just stood there, like, minding my own business, just oblivious to what's going on. And I've looked up, and everyone's looking at me. So I'm like, bro, what's going on? Do you know what I mean? I'm thinking they're going to jump on me. So I'm like, what's going on? He said, do you want a cup of tea? I said, me? No, I'm all right. Like, even to get a glass of water sometimes in, like, like the, what's it called? Look, government prisons, public sector prisons. Do you know what I mean? To get a glass of water in reception, no, it's not happening.
So is it weird having people talk to you like that?
Yeah, 100%. That was the first prison I went to where they call you by your first name rather than your surname.
Wow, I never got any of that. On the transport coming over, are you guys in the bus like sharing stories of like what the fuck were we getting into?
Nah, you know what it is? When you're leaving, I've always seen when you're leaving, everyone's loud and everyone's all lively. Yeah, I don't care when I get here. If anyone says, I'll just knock them out. Like, Screw says anything to me, I'll just knock them out and all that type of talk. But then as soon as you start getting closer, you start seeing them signs on the motorway. Nottingham 2 miles away, everyone starts getting a bit more quiet. And it's like, oh, here we go. Then the gates open, you drive in. Gate shut behind you, and then everyone's just quiet. So now everyone's just sat in the holding. Sometimes you go in, everyone will go in the same holding cell.
So last time you talked about some huge faces, big names that you met. I think we did Chaos, the G brothers, Danny and Darren. Was Purple Aki in there as well? I can't remember.
No,
Purple Aki wasn't in there.
I've got a story about him now.
All right, let's have that then.
But yeah, so I've never met him. I've never met him personally. But when I was in Strange Ways in 2008, I was on the Cat A unit. Again, like with Danny G, when the screws have come and pulled everyone, but this time they've pulled everyone. So they're saying, look, listen, Purple Aki's just been recalled. Yeah, he's breached, whatever. If he comes here, we're gonna have to put him on here with us, because we was all on the Cat A unit. So you've got a few people. Remember, it's the Cat A unit, so everyone's supposed to be dangerous, aren't they? But then you start getting a few people like, but but is he Cat A? No, but if he's not Cat A, why has he got to come on here and? Do you know what I mean? I didn't realize what was going on. Like I've been in prison about just over a year at this point, so I didn't realize Purple Lucky. Who the hell's that? So I'm just oblivious. Then the SO has turned to me and gone, "You ought to be careful." Me? Why? So then that's when I started hearing the stories and the get in the chair and all. Oh, there we go. So it's, you know what I mean? It's all mad. But then another one, the geezer that was panicking was like, "But if he's not Cat A, why is he going to come on here?" Then they're saying, "Well, we can't put him on the VP wing because he'll have a field day on there. We can't put him on the mains because for his safety." Do you know what I mean? So we can't just segregate him for no reason. So we have to put him on the Cat A unit. So then that was a bit of a dark time in Strange Ways at that point. Everyone was, as soon as you hear that gate go, everyone's looking like, is that him? Is that him? Do you know what I mean? I didn't have a clue what he looked like.
When you said then you started hearing the stories, what were the stories that were circulating about him?
Mad, innit? About, see if you can fit through that chair. If you fit through that chair, I got a burglary for when you get out, and you just get some naive kid try and climb through the chair. Now you're stuck, aren't you, bro?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The crazy thing is, when I left my hometown for America, he was like in the news for feeling muscles. Yeah. So I'm in Arizona for like 16, 17 years. Get back, go like Asda, look over at the newspapers, and he's still on the front page.
Yeah, he's mad. I think at that point, what he got recalled for, he breached his ASBO, innit? Because he weren't allowed to squeeze anyone's muscles, or was allowed in a certain mile radius of a rugby club, and I think he was stalking the rugby club.
Now, my best mate from childhood, Wildman, used to hang out with him.
Yeah.
And Aki used to come to Widnes looking for him and run him around and stuff. And he'd get in the car with him and everything.
Yeah.
But my other mate, he'd be like, there was a pond at the top of our town called Birchfield Gardens. And he'd have my other mates, he'd be jumping on the backs and making them squat and feeling the muscles. He must have fell out with Wildman because he made Wildman like stand in the pond for some reason. Yeah. This was when he was just a kid before he became quite big. But Peter was going to tell us. Peter asked Aki if he wanted to come on, and we didn't get anything back from him because Peter says like he wanted to get Aki's side of everything, which is absolutely fair enough.
Only fair, isn't it?
Yeah. But he's got loads of Aki stories that he's never told on camera. But yeah, he died last year. His funeral was just before Christmas. I think he would have loved to have met you. He did meet Daryl, at Manchester. Yeah. All right, so another big name then, and Andy Pritchard has just done a podcast. It's doing really well.
Yeah, Andy Pritchard.
Did you meet him in prison?
I met him in not Strange Ways, Whitemore.
And what was his story, and what was you like with him?
It was all right, you know. This is the thing as well. It's like, because in prison, like a lot of powerful people on the outside don't really have that same power in prison unless you know what I mean? If you're crazy and like say a hitman or whatever, do you know what I mean? So I didn't even realise who he was. So we was on 2 wings together actually. He used to knock about with Curtis Warren. So them two used to knock about. So I would always see them together. So you're right, mate. Do you know what I mean? Then that's when we all got sent down the block for the officer who allegedly was bringing phones and drugs in. We've all ended up down the block for that. So when I've come out the block, I ended up on C-Wing. So when I was on C-Wing, that's when I bumped into him again. So now it's like, oh, mate, you was on A-Wing with us. Do you know what I mean? Then we started talking. And funny story about Andy. So you probably get him yourself, Instagram and Facebook, or you get like these mad messages. So one day I got this mad message. Said, oh, have a look at this AP foundation and rare and this and that. Sent me a link, but I'm not clicking on any link you send me. Do you know what I mean? Unless it's from a trusted person, so I'm not clicking that link. Do you work for the foundation? The person's like, yeah. I said, well, you tell me about it. I'm not clicking this link. So then she's like, oh, just click the link, please. Just click the link. So I've put the link in Google. It's come up. So I thought, oh, yeah, it's a legit link. Scrolling through it, but I'm not paying attention. Just scrolling through it like, oh, yeah, here we go. Started getting a bit big-headed, thinking, oh, well, if they want me, anything more than 30 grand a year. Do you know what I mean? Started having all them mad calculations in my head. But then she ended up saying to me, it's a really good friend of yours. So I was thinking, a good friend of mine. Who the hell's this? Then I've gone back on it, and then I've looked, and then I thought, flipping hell, it's Andy. So then I've gone back to her saying, I apologise, I'm so sorry, like, but what it is, I get these mad messages all day, every day, like, oh, do you want to fucking mail order bride, or do you know what I mean? Mad messages. So when she's messaged me, I'm not really paying attention, and I started speaking to him, and then he's doing crazy things now with his foundation, and he just done a podcast with James.
What was he in for when you met him?
I think it was the smuggling thing, so drug trafficking.
And wasn't he part of the starting the rave scene in London or something?
Yeah. But at this point, I didn't even know all this when I knew him then. So to me, it was just quiet Andy on the wing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sounds like I'd have a lot to talk with him about then. I'd love to get him on.
Yeah, nice guy. He's a nice guy.
And what does his foundation do?
They do like, because right now he's trying to get me involved to do like courses, you know, for the prison system and for rehabilitation and all them type of things. So it's more like mentoring and that. So mentoring programs and basically just giving back to the community.
Are you going to do it?
Thinking about it, yeah, definitely. As long as it doesn't clash with what I'm doing now with the trust. Do you know what I mean? But I'd definitely love to jump on board with him to get some courses out. Anything to help give back to the community, you know?
Yeah. So one of the points down here, trying to put things right is commonly mistaken for weakness. So is that in prison?
Prison, outside. Not so much in prison, it's more outside. It's just like, for me, I've come out of prison and I'm trying to do something positive, you know, but then you'll have people that think, oh, well, because you're on all this positivity stuff, you're weak. Do you know what I mean? Or you get like one guy turn around to me and says, oh, prison changed you. Like, can you really say you're my friend if you would like to see me carrying on that same path I was on before? Because we know where it ends up. We've got how many people sat in prison now for the rest of their lives? How many people dead in the cemetery? So we know where the game's going to take you. So why would you want to keep playing it? Do you know what I mean? And that's another thing. It's just like, the funny part about it, a lot of people have got so much to say about what I'm doing and what I'm saying, but no one's actually coming out saying he's lying. So you know it's the truth, but so then what's your issue? Do you know what I mean?
I find it interesting what you said earlier about who the big people are in prison versus the big people on the streets. Because if you look at John Gotti, he got assaulted, didn't he, when he went to prison? That would have never happened on the streets. Never. And then he paid gang members to protect him. I think it was the ABs.
Yeah.
But you earlier said, you know, some really loud guy, some crazy psychopathic hitman or something, he's going to have a lot of power in prison because you're living with that person. Like, he's right there and you got to deal with that. It's in your face constantly. Yeah,
because it's like, to me, the way I see it, it's like a lot of people, because what tends to happen in prison, so it's like if you're, say, a multi-millionaire on the outside, you come to prison for fraud or whatever it is, you end up in like these high security prisons. What the gang members will do is come to you and grab you like, look, listen, either you transfer us 50 grand or, you know, and you're sat there thinking, I've got 20 years left with these people. Remember, over here, the high security prisons, only 5 high security prisons, what they'll just bounce you around. So everybody knows everyone. Do you know what I mean? So you could get into trouble with me here, get sent to, say, Franklin. My mates are in Franklin. You could get bounced along Loughton. My mates are in, do you know what I mean? So it's a bit mad, but then on the outside, you wouldn't really go to a multi-millionaire and say, send me 50 grand, because they'll probably pay to get your head blown off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a really good observation. So Escobar perhaps might have got away with it.
Yeah.
But John Gotti certainly didn't. And there's a story about one of the lads was bisexual in the previous prison.
Oh,
and you guys found out?
Yeah. Me personally, it's your choice, whatever. But it was funny how it came out, because we was all on the wing together. This was in Dovegate, yeah? So we're all on the wing together. Everyone's just, it's a community, innit? So we're all just living together, whatever. There was this guy, but he was funny, so he's like a bit of a comedian. Then someone's come from another prison what knew him. Then they've gone, oh, that's him. Said, he's no, he was saying he's gay. He's gay. So what do you mean he's gay? So he's got a missus. I said no, he's gay. So what do you mean he's gay, bro? He's like, no, I'm saying he's got a missus. I know. I spoke to his missus. He's got a missus. Oh well, he's bisexual then. I said, all right, sweet. What do you mean? He's like, he had a boyfriend when he was in Gartree or one of them places, yeah. So we're like, oh, whatever, man. So now we're sat here. So now it's a topic of conversation. So we're saying, so do you reckon he's gay? So people are like, well, he is a bit fruity, and do you know what I mean? He does, you know what I mean? So then it's like, maybe. So then we was all sat there, yeah. There was one guy missing. So we're like, where is he? Where's Joe? Where's Joe? Who's seen Joe? So everyone's running around looking for Joe. I'm walking up the landing, going back to my cell, minding my own business, yeah. I've walked past the geezer's cell, what the saying's bisexual. I've walked past the cell, I can see two people in the cell. So I've just opened the door, I've looked. Joe's only lay on his bed like that with his hands behind his head, getting a massage. So I'm saying, Joe, what the hell are you doing? He's like, shut the door, get out, shut the door. So I'm thinking, bro, like you were saying all this stuff about him being bisexual. You just wanted somebody to confirm it so you could go and get a massage off him. Do you know what I mean? It was funny moment.
Do you find that the people in prison who point the fingers at other people and call them snitches and paedophiles, they're the ones usually that have got something to hide?
Yeah, they're the ones that have got like a secret. Like to me personally, like everyone's like, oh, he's gay. Nah, get him off the wing of it. But to me, I don't like. All right, cool. He might be gay. Don't mean he's gonna fancy you. Do you know what I'm saying? Just leave him alone, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Do you have a thing in the UK prison system which exists in America called Gay for the Stay?
100%.
Yeah, where they've got like girlfriends and the missus visiting them.
Yeah.
But then when they get out, they just go back to the missus and they leave it behind.
That I've seen it where there was a guy, well known in Manchester, well known gay guy from Manchester. He's landed in one of the high security with full Sutton with us. Yeah, so everyone knows he's gay. He's out in it. He's proud. Then I started seeing like, little behaviours. Like a lot of people are going around, oh yeah, go on, give us something, like, saying like crazy things to him and that. So I'm thinking, what are you really gonna do when he just spins it round on you? Do you know what I mean? Because I seen it once. Like me and my mate was in the cell because he had a shop, so we was getting some sweets off him and that. Some geezers come in, started showing off in front of me and my mate. Like, yeah, why are you down there, mate? He's just pinned him, and the geezer went white as a ghost. Like, get off me. So I'm thinking, why are you messing about with him? Like, why are you playing with him? And then just before I got out, when I was in open prison, I ended up in an open prison with a high number of sex offenders. So while I was in there, I seen a lot of it in there. Like, people have got the missus and not coming on visits with them, but then you'll have, like, the gay guys that are openly trying to turn the straight guy, do you know what I mean? And then I see things, and then people used to tell me things, but it's their business, isn't it? Like, you're the one living a lie, do you know what I mean?
So I had a trans friend who said that when she first came in, that, she joined the ABs and was brutalised, got gang raped and all this stuff. She had a pretty powerful boyfriend when I met her. But she said, I asked, like, would you let someone know you were gay if you were coming into prison? And she said, absolutely not, because it will be exploited. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. And over there, it'd probably be worse, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Over there,
So what is the general attitude towards sex in prison from the UK prison population? I'll just give you an example then. What I found was, so it's all racially divided in America, so the ABs run the whites. So whoever was like the boss of our pod, 45-man pod, it would depend on him, because I remember there was a white guy getting BJs from a Native American trans prisoner in the pod opposite. And he'd do it in plain view of our pod, and the prisoners at night, you can imagine like the running commentary, everyone was just taking the piss and everything. So that the head of the whites in that pod allowed all that to happen. But then we got a new head of the whites who was like a shot caller from Buckeye Prison, and he saw this and he's like, that white boy is disgracing our race. send word over right away. This has got to stop. So it depended upon who was kind of in control of the gang.
yeah.
What does it vary in the UK, or is it something like people are more open to it here, or is it less?
No, it's more behind closed doors over here in closed conditions. I never seen so much of it until I got to that open prison.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But in closed conditions, I know it happens. Do you know what I mean? Because officers will tell you it happened. Like, oh, mate, you never guess what we seen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the officers will tell you.
So with the separation of sex offenders from the general population, then when you get to the open prison, if guys who are coming into that environment where there are sex offenders, does that cause problems? Are they getting attacked?
No, I'm not getting attacked. It more causes problems because so then it's like for me personally, I can't say or do anything. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't even have an argument with anyone.
Otherwise, you're not going to get out.
Yeah, because then it's like, yeah, that's one point, and then another point is it's like, oh, he's targeting me because I'm a VP. Do you know what I mean? I'm a mains prisoner, so when I'm going there, if I talk too loud, I'm intimidating the VPs. But to me, in my personal opinion, like they were some of the most manipulative people going.
Do you see people coming down from the mains then who just snap because they're in the presence of sex offenders and attack them?
I didn't see any attacks while I was there because it's open prison, so it's more you're on your way out. It's more you'd get people that I've got a lot to say kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like I say all the time, I don't agree with what they're in for. I don't really like them for that, but I'm not going to be the one to start attacking them because to me, I'm here to go home. I want to go home. I want to see my family. I don't agree with what they're in for. I don't agree with some of the comments, what they make. You know, like if I know someone's in for, let's say, paedophilia, and then they're saying, oh, well, with everything I know now, I know I'll never get caught again. So that means like you're going out to do the same thing. Do you know what I mean? But then if I sat there and started talking about, oh, well, I remember this one time I shot this one guy and then I shot this other guy, they're going to start saying, well, he's intimidating us by talking. Do you know what I mean?
And do you think the sex offenders should get much bigger sentences? We just see in the news all the time they're getting like 2 years, 4 years.
Yeah, you see mad sentences, but it's crazy, isn't it? It's mad. They see it as a mental illness, don't they?
Well, the woman that was in this morning, man, honestly, I couldn't see anything out there, but her dad was the perpetrator, and he filmed all these things, and the police found it. She was overseas. The police found it. I literally, my whole body turned cold.
Yeah.
Like I've never felt that before, and he ended up serving. I mean, he kept a diary of it and everything. They had all this evidence on him. He only ended up serving 6 years.
Yeah, it's mad.
And so she's campaigning to have all this change, get long sentences, look into chemical castration, all of this stuff. Because they just fill prisons up with people doing long sentences for drugs. Did you see that?
Yeah. I seen something on Instagram saying about drug dealers get longer than like paedophiles. Oh, rapists, it says, and it said people ask for drugs.
Even drug users?
Yeah.
In Arizona, I saw black kids, Mexican kids getting like 2 to 5 years for joints of weed because they had prior convictions.
I had a mate that got recalled on his IPP, ended up doing 14 months or 18 months for a smoked spliff in the ashtray. So possession of weed, innit?
And a sex offender's going to get like 2 years. That's absolutely ridiculous. So this takes us now to IPP. So one of my very first podcast guests was Pepsi Watson. He got out. He became an IPP activist. He was out in Speaker's Corner, really trying to make positive changes in the world. Now, my interpretation of the situation is that he had a probation officer or some, I don't know what an IPP has. Did they have a probation officer or something like that? This person recalled him unjustly. And then when he got back out, they gave him the same person.
Yeah.
And she's just, we believe, recalled him unjustly again.
Yeah.
So I just posted a video this morning because he was filming his own arrest. And it's really sad. And I'm not anti-police. I just think that there's a lot of police trapped in a corrupt system.
Yeah.
I'll give props to this cop because he came in He didn't come in American style, Commando, RoboCop, get on the fucking ground, all that shit. He came in and he talked to him in a normal, calm voice, and handcuffed him and did what he had to do. But the moment where Pepsi just starts crying on it, and he's a big man, you know.
Yeah.
And he starts crying on it, and he says, you know, I'm going back in. I might never get out. He's just spent a year fighting the previous recall because he was recalled unjustly, and they've just let him out. They didn't have any reason to recall him, really. So now he's back, right back in with this 99-year thing hanging over him.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on IPPs?
It's mad. It's a sentence that doesn't exist anymore. It got abolished in about 2011, 2012, something like that. But you have this thing called emergency recall procedures. So, like, your man, as soon as he gets arrested, they'll contact his probation officer or their boss, and then emergency recall procedure. So you'll go from police station to prison. Then from prison, you'll go to magistrates, either video link or whatever. Then you'll get your recall. Do you know what I mean? And what happens a lot of the time, so let's say, for example, he got arrested for an assault. Yeah? So as soon as you get arrested, you get in recall because you're on these emergency recall procedures. But then the assault will get dropped, but then you still have to serve your recall because you've still breached your parole. You know what I mean? And people end up sat in jail for years behind it. Like years. Like I've got a few friends that are sat on recall now. IPP recall.
What are their stories?
Like you might be out and might be something like a domestic, you know. So it's like, let's think to ourselves, if you're in a relationship with a girl, you've got this colourful past, you're arguing, neighbour calls the police turn up, you're there. As soon as they radio it through, you're a risk. Do you know what I mean? You're always going to be a risk. You might not be a high risk to women, but you're always going to be a risk because your use of violence is normal, if you know what I mean. So then you'll get recalled, the charges get dropped, and you still sat doing the recall because you have to wait for a parole board again. So you can either get out on a paper hearing, or the parole board might say, no, we don't want to do a paper hearing. We want to hear from the defendant ourselves. Then you have to wait for an oral hearing, and that can take up to a year alone just to get a parole board booked. Then you have to go through all the parole dossier and all. It is a long process.
So Pepsi said when he went back in on the previous recall, a lot of the IPP guys were self-harming, cutting ears off, slashing their arms and chests and stuff like that. Did you ever see anything like that?
Yeah, it's mental torture. Like the IPP, it's mental torture because you never know where you stand. You never know where you stand. So it's like you're just trapped in an environment. You don't know if you're coming or going. So it's like, all right, so I was lucky, and it's mad to say that because I had a 12-year tariff. So I know I've got 12 years to do everything they want me to do. Then you could think about someone that's got a 3-year tariff. Yeah, so then you do like a year on remand, another 6 months waiting to get transferred. Then you get transferred. If you have to do, I had to do that SCP, so it's like an 18-month long course. But the waiting list is about 6 months. That's 2 years already. So think about it, if you've got a 3-year tariff, takes you a year on remand, another 6 months to get transferred. Then it's a 6-month waiting list and then 80 months to do the course. You've gone over tariff. And then you're going to get a year knockback, 80 month knockback, 2 year knockback because you've not done your courses.
So do you think the government should reclassify the IPPs into normal sentences?
Yeah, but then that's an argument that they're having because it's like, well, if we do that, because then if you think, if you turn it to a normal sentence, so it's like when you get sentenced for an IPP, so for me, the judge said, if I was giving you a determinate sentence, like a straight sentence, I'll give you 24 years. So I'm going to half that and put IPP on it. So you have to serve a 12-year minimum tariff before you can go for parole. So let's say for someone, for example, someone got a free 18-month tariff, yeah, but you've been in for like 12, 13 years. If that 18-month tariff gets turned to a determinate sentence, you have to instantly be released. So if they start instantly releasing these people, you've got so many what the society deem as dangerous people out in the open. Do you know what I mean? And you've got all these bail hostels, all these probation officers, you know, but I feel they need to do something to get it, do Do you know what I mean? Because it's not, you've got people sat down like 10, 15 years over tariff, you know, because you can't do the correct courses you need to do. And then you come out of jail and you snookered.
So prison is like, there's a lot of negative energy.
Yeah.
You even like new guards who come in and have got a helpful look on their faces. 6 months later, that energy's worn them down, and they're like, the faces are turned to stone. How did you deal with the negative energy? How did you try to stay positive?
I just accepted my surroundings, you know? So it's like, you'll be in an environment you'll have good and bad. Do you know what I mean? I know some people say screws are this and screws are that, but it's same with everything, police and everything. You'll have good and bad, you know? So you'll have the decent screws, then you'll have the arsehole ones. So me personally, I just deal with the all right ones. Do you know what I mean? And then leave the arsehole ones to do it. And if the arsehole one says or does anything, because let's have it right, you're in prison, you're in their house. Do you know what I'm saying? So when they're telling you what to do, you might as well just do it. Or they're just going to jump on you. And some of them will do things for an excuse to jump on you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Were there anybody, whether a guard, a staff member, or a prisoner, who tried to like influence you positively and mentor you?
Nah, not really. It's more like in young offenders, like a lot of the officers are they kind of surprised at the charges that you're in for. Do you know what I mean? Because like I said at the start, we normalise the violence. So me being locked up for conspiracy to murder and attempted murder from the age of 18, to me that was normal. Do you know what I mean? Because I've got friends that had been locked up for murder from the age of 17 or from 8. Do you know what I mean? So to me, it's normal. But then to like a normal citizen, it's like, this is madness. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. So sometimes, yeah, we'll have like conversations. Then they're saying to me like, what is, are you a hitman? Like, what is it you do? No, it's just a way of life, innit? That's just what we do.
Craziest thing you ever saw in prison?
The craziest thing I ever saw in prison is someone being shitted up. Like that, to me, that's the craziest thing. With everything I've seen, like people get the throat slit, people get stabbed up, all these type of things I've seen. But the craziest thing to me, and it's something that you'll never ever get used to, is watching someone get shitted up, whether it's an officer or another con. It's just an horrible thing.
The first time you saw that, what exactly happened?
The first time I saw it, it was actually con on con. So, some I can't remember what it was over, probably drugs or something. But what this geezer's done, he's got 2 Radox shower bottles, filled it up with shit in it, whatever else, gone. The geezer's in bed, sleeping. So the wing we was on, they had to come onto our wing for the methadone. So then he knows he's coming on. He knows what cell the geezer's in because he was just on the wing with us. So then he's walking, he's come to the gate, shouted us, oh yeah, what's happening? Oh yeah, you're right, yeah. Because they had a fight or something, so he got moved off the wing. He's walked away normal. As the screws locking the door, he's ran down the side of the house block, gone through the window, squirted them both through, caught the geezer in bed. So it's all splashing all over his face, but he's just asleep and then waking up. Oh, what the hell's going on? You just heard him scream. It's like a blood-curdling scream. Like, whoa. Then the whole wing just stinks. It's just horrible. It's horrible. Then you see, like, sometimes they fill up buckets, you know, and then leave the cell pitch black. So your cell will be pitch black. So a lot of officers, if your cell's pitch black, a lot of officers will just open a flap, see that you're probably still asleep, unlock your door and just leave it. But then, again, you'll get the arsehole ones that will open your door fully so the bright light's in, so it's like flipping, I don't know, like The Exorcist or something. So now, what happened this one time, knowing that this geezer was on, the man's done it. He was my next door neighbour, and I could smell it coming through the pipe, and I'm thinking, what the hell's going on in there? Like, flip it, open the window, bro, like, do you know what I mean? Then the screws open the door, poked his head in, try to see because it's pitch black, and he's just stood there. So as soon as he's poked his head, he's looking around, he's just gone, fuck off. Splashed him, fucking shit, piss, everything everywhere. It's like sprays all over him. He starts slipping in it, falling over. It's all in the mouth, eyes, and yeah, it's horrible.
I had a mate who was on the clean-up crew for the shit slingers in prison. and there was one shit slinger was like the Rambo. He was called Magnum, and he'd just fucking like his cell. He had like tubes and shampoo bottles and everything. So he'd always catch the guards by surprise. They like went in there, cleaned his cell out, stripped him out. They put him in a dry cell, naked, handcuffed behind his back, with nothing in there. And they got to do a check on him every so often. Yeah. So what he did was he fucking shat on the floor, put it in his mouth, waited near the fucking where the guard was going to show up, kept that shit in his mouth till the guard showed up. And the guard was so surprised he like leant back and it fucking went in his nose and his mouth and everything.
Savage.
Yeah.
And that think he's had it in his mouth all, so that's a serious amount of hatred. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think you can get that amount of hatred for someone unless you're in prison. Do you know what I mean? It's just prison to me. It's just magnified by about 50. So everything's just intense. Do you know what I mean? An argument's intense. Like seeing people get stabbed up over an argument or a game of pool. Who's next on the phone? But you start fighting, the whole wing gets locked down. Now no one's gonna use the phone. Do you know what I mean? Whereas outside, you're probably just like, yeah, sweet, go on, mate. Do you know what I mean? Well, it's mad.
So, what about like, there's like gallows humour, isn't there, that gets you through it? What was like the funniest moments for you?
You can't beat, like, you know, when just being at the window, like early bang up on a weekend, just bang up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, in the evening, and just being at the window with the lads, just having a laugh, like, you know, just having a recap of the whole day. Do you know what I mean? Because it's mad, like I said, it's an intense environment. So you'll have people that fall in love with officers. You know, oh, she looked at me today. Oh, did you see her looking at me? Oh, there's this one geezer. He fell in love with this female officer. Yeah. So what he used to do, he used to put a porno on. So he's got the porno on. So he's positioned the TV. So it's at the door. So when she opens the door, she can see what's going on. He stood there, butt naked. Baby oil all over himself, stroking one out. As she comes round, so then he's like, oh, sorry about that, mate. You set it up, bro. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's crazy things like that. Like, you see what people fall in love with these officers and start acting crazy. Like, people will put their visit clothes on, you know, just to be on a landing to see these officers.
Yeah. Shit, in America, if you, like, had your dick out in front of a female guard, fucking hell, man, you'd be in trouble. I was taking a piss one night and a female guard come up. I just arrived at this one, so I didn't know what time the walk was. She shined a light in right on my dick. I'm taking a piss. She says, so you're exposing yourself to me. I'm like, oh, fucking hell, man. We were about to get raided and everything, but my Sally stepped up. He's like, oh, he's just arrived, blah, blah, blah. He didn't know what the fuck was going on. So, sex with female guards then, did that happen?
Yeah. That happens all the time. Like, you see it all the time, innit? You see it all the time in the newspapers and everything, and even in prison, you see it. But again, you see it, but you don't see it.
And usually, like, people find out, get jealous, put a kite in.
Yeah.
And what happens in the UK? Did they just get moved around then?
Yeah. Nothing will happen to, like, say it's me. So say I got arrested with, or caught with a female officer. Nothing will happen to me. Because at the end of the day, it's their job. Do you know what I mean? So they're the one, like, you acted inappropriately. It's almost my job to try and corrupt you, you know? So you probably both get arrested, go on trial, but majority of people are doing life sentences. Do you know what I mean? So you're not going to get no extra time, but then they're going to get like a 3 or up to a 5-year sentence and lost a career.
So how long did you serve exactly on that one sentence, the big one?
12 years.
As time is passing then, how are you dealing with it psychologically? In the beginning, are you thinking like, this is just a big mountain I got to get over? And then in the middle, you're like, all right, I can see like now I'm more than halfway.
Yeah, for me, like, as soon as I shut off the outside world, as soon as I shut off from the outside world, my time started to fly. But then again, them last few months, because like the last few months I was in open prison. So everything from 2019, so now it's like, I've got my home leaves. I'm eligible for home leave now. So now I have to wait a month for a home leave. And that month takes forever, whereas the past 10 years have flew by. Do you know what I mean? So then Now you're waiting for a month for this home leave to that home leave, and it's like you can't. And then you get your parole, and you have to wait till this day for your bed space in a hostel, and it's mad. But to me, it was just shutting off from the outside world and accepting my fate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, accepting your fate cheerfully.
Yeah. Because you see people that fight it, like you got these guys in high security that are doing 30, 35 years rec, so minimum of 35 years, and all the focus on is the repeal, and they lose their mind with it, you know.
Yeah. Did it go faster and faster, the years?
Yeah, it flew by. I'm not gonna lie to you, it flew by. Like, while it was happening, it felt like it was lasting forever. But that train ride home when I got out, November 2019, I sat there and I thought, that actually flew, you know. Like, it actually flew. Like, now life is real, you know.
Once you'd settled into your routine, what was an average day like for you?
Once I was out or inside?
Inside.
Same old, innit? Wake up, breakfast, gym, come back, sleep, up again. But if you're a wing worker, like, that's all you do is just eat, sleep, gym, come back, sleep, shower, you know what I mean? But if you're in education and all that, then it's pretty much the same. You go education, come back, go back again, then go gym in the evening, and you know. But it's just that's it. Just getting into that routine. So you're eating your meals a day, however many meals a day. You're sleeping bang on time. Everything was perfect. So I feel like everything's gone a bit crazy since I've been out. Do you know what I mean? While I was in, I had a decent routine.
How long were you in Cat A for?
I've done about 4.5 years, all in all. So I've done about 3.5 in Whitemore, a year in Full Sutton. But then I've done that other year on the unit in Strangers, but I never really count that. That was just like Ramond.
How did it feel when you had to move prison, when you were recategorised?
So when you drop category,
Yeah.
When you drop category, it's mad, because I went from Cat B to Cat A, back to Cat B, straight to Cat D. So I've gone from fence and a wall to nothing. Do you know what I mean? Just sheeps and everything else. It was
Why
mad.
did they bump you back up?
For intel to suggest that we was trafficking mobile phones and drugs through the prison.
And then you went all the way down.
I went to, then I done my time in, because the case fell through. The trafficking mobile phones and drugs, that fell through. So realistically, I'm not supposed to be in high security anymore. But I ended up doing my course.
What additional privileges do you get when you move from A to B?
None. You get more in A.
What?
Yeah, in A, you've got the kitchens on the wing. You can buy your frozen foods and that. You cook your own food.
Holy shit.
In Cat A.
In America, the higher the level, the less you get.
Yeah,
you don't even get out your cell at the
I've
top.
seen it, yeah.
Wow, I had no idea. So is that because they're in there for such a long time?
Yeah.
They feel they gotta take care of them a bit more so they don't kick off or something?
Yeah, it's the land. In my, I don't know the reason behind it, but in my opinion, it's the land of the condemned. You know, the average sentence is a minimum 30 years.
Yeah.
That's the average sentence, like minimum 30 years. So when I'm going out with my 12 IPP, it's nothing compared to them.
Were there any other big names that you met that you got stories about that we didn't cover yet?
Not really. I was thinking about that, you know. There's a few. I've met a few. Like, there's one of my mates, Noodles. He was like one of them old school Cockney geezers. Do you know what I mean? He used to have it with like, I think he might have been the generation after the craze, but he was all right. He's just money man, so flying here, there, and everywhere. Got caught with a few fake passports and that. Met him. He was high risk. He was doing a 4-year sentence, but he was high risk Cat. So I'm saying to him, like, because when I seen that he's high risk Cat, I'm just assuming that he's doing a long time. He's like, Kieran, I'm doing a 4. Oh, you're serious, and aren't you, bro? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was one.
I interviewed a guy who, Mozam, who was in Guantanamo Bay earlier this week. And he ended up getting rearrested and they put him in Cat A Belmarsh. So he was very fascinated by how the gangs were divided in America, whites, blacks, Mexicans, Mexican-Americans. So I was asking him about the gangs in Belmarsh, and he said the strongest is the Muslim gang.
Yeah.
Did you experience that?
Yeah, it definitely is. In all them high security prisons, like it's the Muslims kind of run the prison system, you know, the high security estate. It's like I was saying to you before. So it's like if you was to go there, a non-Muslim, and you have a fight with a Muslim, you're gonna go down the block, then get transferred to another prison. But then you're gonna go there, and there's gonna be another load of Muslims in there that you're gonna have to fight again. Do you know what I mean? There's people living down the block that have been down the block for years because they can't locate. Every time they go on the wing, it goes off. So now they're living down the segregation.
So how did that gang get so powerful?
It's just through because in London, there's the Muslim community, you know, and the gangsters in London are like Muslims. So let's think to ourselves, when they're going away for these 30, however many years, they're going there as Muslim because it started to change mid 2000s. So early 2000s, it wasn't like that. So in early 2000s, let's go even back further, like in the 90s, it was more the IRA in the Cat A jails. But then early thousands, when people in for terrorism started coming, they was actually under pressure from the lifers in there. So they're saying, but then I think it was after about 2003, 2004, the Brotherhood started getting stronger in prison because all these guys from outside were coming in. So now it's like you've got all these gangs from London. So you've got one main gang from South London, they're all Muslim. So when all these lot are going to prison, they're known names in the system, do you know what I mean? And they're active, they're crazy. Like they'll stab you up for no reason.
So do you have to tread very carefully then when dealing with those people?
Yeah, but again, me being me, like I ended up finding myself in a situation where he approached me about selling drugs in Whitemore, you know. But I'm a person, innit? I can't lie. I'm not gonna lie to you, am I? Do you know what I mean? So if you're coming to me talking about, yeah, I am, like I was, yeah. You know, I'm saying like I'm grown. I can't really phone my mum and ask my mum for money. I can't really phone I'm grown, innit? My mum's got however many kids to look after. Like, it's not her fault I'm in prison, it's mine. So I need to do these things myself to fund my lifestyle. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's what I said to them. Then they ended up making some list. It was me and a few others that they put on this hit list.
And what happened next?
Nothing. Like, it's just, you know what it is? Like, no disrespect to them, because a lot of them, they are good people. A lot of them are good people, but sometimes it could be personal vendettas. You know, like I believe my situation was it was personal vendettas. So people are looking at me thinking they want to behave the way I'm behaving, but they didn't really have the what's the confidence to do it. Do you know what I mean? So now it's like, oh, look at him. So it becomes hate. So again, like I was saying before, with everything that people just start to hate, and rather than just congratulating someone, they just talk down and say crazy things. So it's like, oh, he's doing this and he's doing that. So it wasn't the fact that I was selling drugs. It was that you're selling drugs to Muslims. Well, I'm not forcing it, no, do you know what I mean? But it just ended up fizzing out because then I think it turned out that it was just a bit of jealousy. And then it'll just blow up into something that doesn't need to be so big.
So my experience was that the absolute priority of the gangs is the drug business. It's the biggest profit opportunity in the history of the world for them. They use it to corrupt the guards, bring the drugs in, everything like that. So are you telling me then that the most powerful gang in the UK prison system is anti-drugs?
Yeah. It's mad. It's more like, it's like in some places they try and implement Sharia law in the system.
In the system?
Yeah, I've seen people get lashes.
Lashes?
Yeah, I've seen grown men get lashes for smoking weed or for playing music during praying time. And do you know what I mean? I've seen man like go in the TV room, stand there, someone will cover the camera and just get lashes.
How did they make the lashes?
With like a TV aerial or a PlayStation lead or whatever they could use.
Holy shit. Are there any other gangs then outside of the Muslims?
Yeah, you'll have like your street gangs, innit? But then what a lot of people do is they'll go to prison and become Muslim, you know? So it's like, so let's say for example, you got me. If I go to prison, I'm Muslim. But then one of my arch enemy, he's Muslim as well. Because you have like you were saying before, you have the shot callers on each wing. You'll have like a mayor on each wing. So like he's the head of the Muslim on each wing. So if I wanted to do something to him, I have to ask the emir's permission, say, look, I need to get him. Then he'd be like, why? What is it? Where is it? But again, for me, because it's like if I'm cool with the emir, regardless of whoever he is, he's going to give me that green light because he's my friend. Do you know what I mean? So it's mad. It's just it's a crazy scenario.
So does the Muslim gang accept people of all races and faiths to join them?
No. You'll be cool with them, don't get me wrong. Like it's not like, oh, you're not Muslim, don't speak to me. Some of them would be like that. Like again, you have the arseholes and you have the cool ones in it. So some people be like, oh, don't speak to me or don't speak to him. Why are you speaking to him? But then you'll have some other ones that accept that it's a community. We all have to live together, you know?
So it's different temperaments.
Yeah.
So if a Christian white guy goes in then, could he join the Muslim gang? Could he convert?
Yeah.
And does that happen a lot?
All the time.
And what motivates them to do that? Because that is the biggest, strongest gang. And
fear, innit? It's fear. Because for everybody, when you're going into high security, like, don't get me wrong, even the officers in reception will scare you. Like, look, you know, you're going to go up there and you hear all the horror stories. People are walking around looking like Freddy Krueger because someone's threw hot oil on them and things like that. So you hear all these horror stories. So if you're going into that environment, so Full Sutton. So in Full Sutton, that's in York. So at this point, Cat B's were full. So if you're in, is it Armley? I think it's Armley that's in like Leeds local. So if you're in Armley and you get anything over a 10-year sentence, they're going to send you to Full Sutton because Cat B's are full. You know, so you're a Cat B prisoner, so we have to get you out of here, so we're going to send you to Full Sutton. They shouldn't really be in high security. They shouldn't be there. Like, any B cat that's in high security, it's supposed to be problematic. Like, you have to be problematic. Like, if you looked at my file and seen that I was, oh yeah, you're problematic, bro. Like, you active gang member, involved in this, trafficking drugs, on paper, it looks, you know. But some people, I used to see them think, you shouldn't be here.
That's interesting because you've got the four major gangs in Arizona: whites, blacks, Mexicans, Mexican Americans, and they like balance each other out. But from what you're saying is then there's just one dominant gang that's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. But then because everyone else is outside of it, but they're weaker than it, so they've got no choice. So it should end up just taking over the whole system.
But then what happens is Scousers are a force to be reckoned with. You know, so it's like you can be there. I've seen it. Like,
what did you see?
You'll go there and there'll be one Scouser, another Scouser will come on the wing. You can tell because he's got Reebok workouts on. So you say, he's a Scouser. Then he'll speak. That one will look at him like, where you from, lad? From it's not any gang-related thing. Them two are best of friends. They've never met a day in their life. They're the best of friends. So if you get... And then what happens then, in a lot of these in them high security, so you'll have the Scousers. The Scousers are a mob anyway. Then the Mancs will link up with the Scousers. Now, there's always going to be a strong Manc presence in prison as well. And then mix that with the Scousers. So now you've got a rival gang for the Muslims, do you know what I mean? And that's one of the biggest ones that go off. And then you'll have a few of them, you know, like Essex boys and a few of the white cockneys and all that. There was one, I can't remember his name. His mate reached out to me the other day. But they went off in Whitemore.
Over what?
It could be over anything. You know, I'm not going to lie, yeah? 9 times out of 10, it's over something bad. Yeah? So it's like, say, a Muslim might go to another guy and have a porno. Let's say, for example, the porno goes missing, so them two start arguing. But he won't tell them it's over a porno. He say, he's done this, and now they're all going to try and attack him. But then all his friends, but then this geezer, like, it was going off. So you had a few travellers, and then a boxer. So it's going off, and I heard people are just getting laid down, just knocked out, just put asleep, and people are jumping back up. It's going off. So sometimes it goes off. So it could be something stupid like someone could have a phone. A non-Muslim could have a phone. He's letting the Muslim guy use it. The Muslim guy starts flexing his muscles and thinks, you know what? I could take it off you because there's nothing you can do. Now let's think. Everyone's a grown man, you know? So if you've got a name outside and you've just been robbed, you're going to retaliate. Do you know what I mean? And then it goes off.
Have you been in the mix when it went off?
I don't get involved. I don't get involved in it, me. Like, the only things I would get involved with is gang politics. But anything like me, I say the same thing all the time. I ain't getting involved in that.
Could you give an example of prison gang politics you would get involved in?
Like if it was, like I said before, like if, because there's been times where I've been in prison with like loads of my rivals, you know, and there's been times where there's been loads of us and one or two of them. Do you know what I mean? But me, I do the same thing every time. So if I've not got a personal vendetta against you, I'm not even like, because some people do, oh, he's from over there, and just attack him straight away. Me personally, I operate on personal vendettas. Do you know what I mean? So just one time, one of them have come in. So you get all the people from out of town will come to you, oh, such and such is here, he's here. I said, yeah, what's he saying? He says, yeah, but he says he's from Dodderton. I said, no. Did he say he's from Dodderton, or did he say he's from my side, Dodderton Estate? Oh, he says he's from my side. I said, so why are you saying that then? Because like I said to you before, if you say to me, wait, and I say I'm from Crip, that's me telling you I'm a gangbanger. Do you know what I mean? So let him slide, man, and just leave him. But then on the flip side of it, you can have someone else that you can't let them have a pass.
Did people try and trick you into fighting people?
What do you mean?
So there's a thing whereby, like, say person A has got a beef with person B.
Oh, yeah.
He goes to person C and says, that guy over there just called you a punk.
Yeah,
but the guy didn't really call him a punk because he wants him to trick him into fighting him.
I had that with, I don't know if you heard Crazy Titch. He's an MC from London. But I had that with him in Full Sutton.
What happened?
You know what it is, yeah? Like, a lot of these rappers will come to prison and people idolize them. Like, to me, when I heard Crazy Titch was in that prison, I was excited. Like, oh my days, I've listened to him for years. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a fan. But then you'll have other people, and again, it's like jealousy because he's a known name. Like, he can actually go to the screws and say, put my name in on YouTube. And some people get jealous of that. Some people are coming to me saying, Titch was saying rare tear about you.
Titch was saying what?
So Titch was saying rare tear about you. So I'm like, what? Like, yeah, he's saying, saying you're a bitch and that. So I'm like, what? But at first I'm saying, nah, he doesn't know me. So how can he say, I don't know. But he kept chipping away. So then it started getting at me. And then what happened, one of my mates from outside has come to me and said, yo, what's going on? He was an older guy. So he's like, what's going on? So I'm like, what do you mean, what's going on? He's like, what's my man saying? So now it's like, now it's the area thing, innit? That this is an older guy to me. So now it's like, I'm going to have to, my man said, you better address it. So I had to go and address it. But then when I've addressed it, I've realised that these lot are just chatting rubbish. But it almost escalated into something because now it's turned into, I've gone to him and I'm saying to him, like, what's all this? And then he's talking about, I didn't say anything, but why are you coming to me like that? And then, as stupid as that sounds, that could then turn into whatever else, and it's going to be an all-out war.
Any other times they played mind games with you?
It's mind games every day in prison. So I'm not going to lie, it's every single day in prison. Any
occasion there where it like escalated though and got serious?
I remember this one time, it weren't nothing to do with me, but I've just landed back in Cat B from Cat A, yeah? And there was this geezer on the wing. Loud, everything, yeah, anything you need, bro. But I read his whole body language and energy and I weren't feeling it. So I used to stay away from him. But then there was this guy what knew me from Whitemore and he's gone to him saying, oh, look, he's on the wing, man. He does his thing and red. So now this geezer's like latched on to me because he's told him I do my thing. So I'm in the cell because I wanted to go on the out his window to speak to someone on the yard. So I've gone in there, there's a phone there, there's drugs there, there's SIM card. So I've gone out the cell and I said to him, look, mate, you need to clear that up. He's like, don't worry about it, man. It's okay. We're in Dovegate now and rare it. All right, sweet. But my mates was on another wing. But I'm not telling this geezer who I am. Do you know what I mean? So then he's come to me, oh, I never knew you was his mate, and rare. Long story short, he's just running around boasting. He had beef with the Scousers, actually. And then some guys ended up going in his cell like, oh, it looks tasty in here. Looking around saying, it looks tasty. But this idiot stood with him like, yeah, I do my thing, you know, like doing all that. He's like, yeah, it looks tasty. He's gone. Day or so later, he's come back with a big net bag, gone in his cell, started packing up all his stuff. So his hard drive, DVD player, his phone, his Xbox, all these things, started packing it all up. The geezers come back on the wing and seen him in his cell. Yeah, we was at the microwave cooking. So we started walking towards the cell. My man saying to him, come in the cell, come in the cell. So then he's walked away from him, left the guy in the cell. Then it all started going off because he's tried to walk past his cell to get to someone else. My man just dragged him in the cell and started fighting him. And the screws have come. And then it all just started going off. He ended up going to another prison. He ended up getting kidnapped, yeah, for the same thing, saying he's got all this money. The kidnappers have phoned his missus and says to her, transfer us 50 grand or whatever it was. She's saying, look, I haven't got 50 grand. He's saying, yeah, you have. She's saying, I haven't got, I'm not getting 50 grand. So they've put the phone down. They're saying to him, she says you haven't got 50 grand. He's saying to the kidnappers, she's lying. She's lying. He's being kidnapped. He's tied up and he's still lying to these people. Like, and then they've ended up phoning some other geezers, what I know, and then says, look, listen, man said, listen, he's a compulsive liar. Let him go. He hasn't got anything. So they just took everything out his cell, left him like he had just walked into prison that day.
Do you see anyone else just fucking blowing smoke? It ended up badly for them.
Nah, he's the main one.
He's
the main one. Like, that's the main one. I forgot about him. I was chatting to my mate the other day and he said it, but he was the main one. But there's a lot of people that tell lies and then you'll meet someone from, because like, if I go into a prison, so say I go to a Yorkshire prison, I don't know anyone from Yorkshire, so I might meet someone from Sheffield. They start telling me they're the baddest man in Sheffield. Then someone else from Sheffield will come and say, he's a muppet. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, you see that on a regular basis.
What was the lowest moment in prison for you?
My lowest point was when I lost my gran. That was the lowest point for me. I said it on the last one. Like, that was the lowest point for me. But again, and I was having the same conversation with my niece the other day. I'm saying, like, with all this, like, now, when I'm out and I see all it, like The Secret and the universe and all that, when I'm looking at these things and I think to myself, I had so many different warning shots when I was out. I got shot 3 times when I was 17 years old. I went to prison, got a 12-year sentence that still weren't changing. So it's like, I believe the higher power or the universe or God, however you want to look at it, was saying to me, this is not your calling. That's not your calling. Do you know what I mean? You're not supposed to be on these streets running with gangs, and sometimes you have to take these sacrifices to see what's really going on. Do you know what I mean? Because I think if I didn't lose my gran at that point, I probably would still be gangbanging.
That was the point that turned your life around.
Yeah, that was my turning point.
And, you know, to have that lifestyle for so many years then, for that to happen, how did you plan to make those changes, to like live that, like the new lifestyle?
Because for me, it's like I'm a confident guy. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, some people might think, like, don't get me wrong, I did used to have these thoughts in my head like, oh well, how are people gonna look at me if I come out and say I'm not banging anymore, or do you know what I mean? Are people gonna try to turn on me? But I had the confidence to just like go with it and roll with it. So then I started doing all my courses and all them type of things. Got all my qualifications. So I thought, when I get out, I need to create a new career for myself, a new life, so to speak. You know, and that's when I started getting all my gym qualifications and that. But then that's a part of my story as well. Because even when I first come out of jail, so I got out of jail on a Monday, 18th of November. By Thursday, I was sat in a gym, Heroes Gym.
Lee Wardle.
Yeah. Mate, he's a legend. I've gone there, spoke to him, and I said to him, look, listen, I've just come out of prison, told him my story in rare tears. He says, mate, everyone deserves a second chance. And gave me that chance there. So he says to me, you can use my gym, you can come here, do your personal training, do this, do that, but you have to build your own client base. You know, £300 a month to rent out the space. You know what I mean? Saying, I'll help you. I'll help you as much as I can. to build client base and all that. Till this day, very good friend. And every plan that I've had, so it's like, at one point I said, I'm going to move away, but I want to make like a retreat, like personal training and whatever else. And he says, yeah, anything you need, cheap gym gear, I'll get that for you, everything. My food business, he buys food off me all the time and everything, man. He's a legend, living legend.
What's the name of your food business?
Chopping it up.
Have you got a link we can put in for that
Yeah,
this time?
I'll send you a link. Chopping it up on Instagram. But even K the PT19 on Instagram, you'll find my LinkedIn to all my socials and everything.
What made you want to enter the food business?
You know what because like, even from prison, I used to cook for the whole wing. So Christmas, I'll cook for the whole wing. Eid, I'll cook for the whole wing. Do you know what I mean? Like birthdays, so you're cooking for like 10, 20 people at a time. Because I'm in Whitemore, there was about 30, 40 of us on the wing. Do you know what I mean? So like you're cooking for like 30, 40 people. I enjoy it. It's like it's therapeutic, putting music on to start cooking. Even funny story, even him out there, my cousin out there, I've come out of prison, he wanted to start a food war with me. So, started the food war, doing the food war. But he never sampled my food. And then the first time he sampled my food, even his mum says to him, listen, you lost the war. Do you know what I mean? I enjoy it. I find it therapeutic and I enjoy it.
And have you moved into the liquor business as well?
Not officially, because I've not got a liquor license. But yeah, I like to throw a few things together.
What was Christmas like in prison?
All you got to look forward to is half a chicken. It's not even half a chicken, half a pigeon, half a bird.
So what you did, you kind of like boosted the atmosphere a bit for the fellas.
Yeah, that was in high security. No, in all of them actually. So if you get half a chicken, so you bring me half your chicken, you have your Breville in your microwave, so you just remix the chicken, cook it, then you put on like a spread for everyone, make like a punch or whatever. In high security, you've got your actual meats, so you can make anything. Do you know what I mean? But in closed conditions, you've probably just got a kettle or a microwave or a Breville,
Were your family visiting you?
Yeah, but like I said, after a point where I shut off from the outside world, I weren't really too focused on visits and that because it's just keeping that attachment to the outside world. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, like the mental side of it, because this is what I say all the time, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way. Prison, it's physically easy, because anything you do, like you adapt to it. Do you know what I mean? Mentally, like if you mentally let go and just accept your fate, time will fly. But like I said before, if you got these people that are holding on to parole, so all you're thinking about is not your parole, your appeal. All you're thinking about is your appeal. Oh, I've got this new witness, I got this, I got that, I got this, I got that. That's all you're thinking about, so it just consumes your brain. And then,
What's your life been like since the last podcast here?
Things have actually started to work out. Like, I can't complain, and I say this to my partner all the time, I can't complain. I see a lot of people saying about during quarantine, they lost this, they lost that, they furloughed. And to me, I've done well in lockdown. Since the last podcast, my subscribers grew. I think I'm on 2,500 now. So yeah, everything, it's the plan's coming together.
And the link for his channel is in the description box. How are you maintaining then mental health?
Yeah, because like I said on the last one, I was on my medication, but I don't even really take my medication. I'm just, on a whole, I'm just in a good place. Like everything's just working out. I feel happy. For the first time in a long time, I feel happy.
That's really good to hear, man. Yeah. So to the people watching this then, who are fascinated by this, what do you want to tell them in conclusion? Like the young people and stuff?
To the young people, like, don't follow the hype, innit? Like, don't be afraid to be yourself, Like, don't be afraid to be yourself. Like, don't follow the hype. Like, don't look and think, oh, this is all I can do. Like, there's so many different things. I went through however many years of negative, and now it's took me to the age of 32 to start seeing the positive, So don't ever think like this is all you've got. Do you know what I mean? You can always make it, You see, in this day and age as well, with the social media and everything else, there's so many different avenues you can go down.
It's TikTok now, isn't it? Are you on that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've enjoyed this podcast then, please let us know in the comments. Sure, there's going to be more stuff from the Americans about goddamn Crips in the UK. Let us know. And if you're gang members out there in America, we do want to hear your opinion of this, about the Crips. Did you know there were Crips in the UK? What do you think of it? Let us know in the comments. Huge thank you to the subscribers. Subscription logos down there in the corner of the screen. Huge thank you to all the people who've gone down as well and clicked on Kieran's links and subscribed and liked and shared his stuff to help him grow with what he's doing. And if you're in the Manchester area, what was the name of your food business again?
Chopping it up.
Right, and we'll put the link down there as well. All right, give us a hug, big man. Thanks. Yeah, brilliant again. Cheers, brother. Well done, man. Yeah, excellent.